What's up, killers? Good evening. Happy Friday night. You are back. You're stuck with me all by my lonesome here in the studio. Producer Chris is working those overtime hours, so I'll cut him a break. Tonight's guest, we got Jeff Coates of Pitboss Waterfowl. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. It's going to be one of those ones where we kind of flex our capabilities here. By no means do we call ourselves expert waterfowl hunters by any means, but a couple of us have some experience in it, and Jeff is going to be a great guest to have on and really dive into what he has to offer. So if you guys don't already, please check us out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you can. Every little bit of traction helps. It helps us reach out to guests like Jeff, and we're looking to grow. We're having fun doing this. We want to keep having quality shows for you guys. So that's it. The more you guys interact, and it helps us out. So, Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Good evening. Happy Friday to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, obviously, with Pitboss Waterfowl, there is a lot that goes into this. It's more than just yourself. It's more than just a hunter. It is a true on full brand for yourself at this point. What I want to do, though, let's take a couple steps back. And like we do on most of the shows, I like to talk to the guests. What got you outside? What got you on the water? What put you into this waterfowl? Everything about it that it really is your lifestyle now.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I kind of got into waterfowl through turkey hunting. Tried to do some turkey hunting, and I had a friend that I worked with. I guess I was about 21, 22 years old. And he was an avid waterfowl hunter. He was into upper Chesapeake Bay decoys, and he had never shot a turkey. So, we never shot a turkey together, but I did take him turkey hunting, and in turn, that fall he took me duck hunting. So
nice.
that's really kind of what got me into it.
Okay. What kind of struck you first? Were you totally like, this is it, this is what I want to do, or was it kind of like, let me try that again, and it grew on you?
Yeah, I think honestly, the living situation, geographically where we were, and hunting public property, it was to hunt Saturday morning. We left Friday night at 11 p.m. Okay. And made a journey over to the Eastern Shore. We stopped in Easton and we went to Denny's. We had breakfast. It was more like a social event, just getting to public property. Gotcha. Showed up at 3:30, but generally before anybody else. And I can just remember one of the first times, it was cold. The moon was bright as can be. There's a little bit of ice on the impoundment. And I'm like, man, who all is out at 3:30 in the morning doing this? Yep. And kind of the ducks was the bonus for me at the time. But I just enjoyed, if you want to call it the adventure sure. Doing this. So,
yeah, hey, that's literally the tagline for our show: measure the story, not the inches. And it's that is kind of deer related, but it's how you could put that into any phase of it. You could be out there just sharing that camaraderie, sitting in the blind, sitting in the layup boat, whatever it is. If sometimes those are some of the best stories, it's not about the actual harvest sometimes.
100%. I had to help Scoter get up the chair. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all good. We dabbled on a little bit before the show, and the actual name Pitboss Waterfowl. I had a feeling what it was about, but like I said, it's a very catchy name. Do you mind just telling the background on that?
For sure. Really, it's a reference to goose hunting on the upper Chesapeake, on the eastern shore of the upper Chesapeake Bay. Mm-hmm. But when I got online in about 1994, the internet was definitely new to me. But there were some forums, and nobody really used their names. Because if you use your name, somebody's going to come to your house and kill you, right? So nobody used their names. And Pitboss has been my in Maryland, a vanity tag. You can have 7 letters. So I've had Pitboss on any truck that I've owned since about 1994. So once the internet screen, the old refuge forums is really where the first screen name used, and it just kind of fit. It's my tag. It's kind of a goose hunting reference. Most people hunt geese back in the day, hunted from geese from a pit in fields, and so it really has nothing to do with what I do today. If I knew better, I would have said, Jeff Coates Waterfowl or whatever. It came with a better name than Pitboss Waterfowl, because it really has nothing to do with sea duck hunting. But back in the day,
it's catchy though. Like I said, it does have an effect to it. So without a doubt. You're primarily based for your hunting. It's still in the Maryland area, correct? Like Chesapeake area.
Yeah, Lower Eastern Shore, and actually today, currently, in the past couple of years, well, more than the past couple of years, I really like to go right out on the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. Things have changed over the years, birds, the pressure, and that kind of thing. So I just, I really like to go out on the ocean daily. But I live right outside, a couple miles outside Ocean City, Maryland.
Okay. All right. And that's going to lead me into a couple of questions here. We're going to get a little bit more specific. So obviously, Maryland's part of that Atlantic Flyway on the seaboard. It seems Maryland's like hard. It's about, it's almost like that halfway point for these birds on migration. Would that be good?
You're breaking up in there a little bit. I'm sorry I didn't hear all that.
No, that's all right. Is that any better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's right.
The Atlantic Flyway, with you being based in Maryland, that's about that halfway point for these birds on their migration headed south. Would that be accurate? You guys offer such a diverse climate.
Yeah, I mean halfway or maybe to the lower ranges, depending on what the birds are. But you got to remember too, like the Chesapeake Bay is the largest freshwater estuary in North America. I was born actually in the headwaters of up in Havre de Grace, Maryland, and maybe not to the mile, but it's about 175 miles south from Havre de Grace down through Maryland through Virginia to get to the Chesapeake Bay. We actually came up this morning from North Carolina through Virginia, and at Virginia Beach, it's a Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. It's actually 17 miles long. The mouth is, or 17 miles wide, I should say.
Okay.
And it's a bridge. You go in a tunnel, back up on a bridge, and you go through another tunnel and on a bridge. So it's quite
wow.
it covers a vast area in Maryland and Virginia. Sure. But yeah, all of my early on maybe the Upper Bay, but generally definitely with my guiding, I'd say like the middle part of the bay and or over to the ocean.
Okay. So you're going to encounter like a plethora of waterfowl. You're still going to get like buffalo heads. You'll get your mallards. You'll get your brant. What do you target if you're going to take clients out? What's your main species that you're targeting?
Day in, day out, it's sea ducks. So
all sea ducks.
Yep, scoter, old squall, and occasionally a niter.
Okay.
And back in the day, the special sea duck season was 107 days long. So even when duck season, regular ducks was only 30 days. Special sea duck season was 107 days long.
Okay.
So I experienced, through my 26 years, a vast part of a good 19 years, I'd say 18, 19 years of the 107-day special sea duck season. And then they reduced the special sea duck season 107 days to 60 days. They reduced the bag limit a little bit. That went on for 6 years. And then the past couple of years, they've done away with the special sea duck season. So whatever state you're in, the Atlantic Flyway, when ducks are open, you can target sea ducks.
Okay. So now let's just say for some odd reason that everything rigs up right, the temperature's cold, you get a flock of geese flying by. Will you allow the clients to take a shot at them if they're in season, or you just want to target mainly at like the sea ducks that you're after?
No. I mean, it obviously the season has to be open, and it depends on exactly what piece of water we're on. But yeah, I mean, we see a little bit of everything. But
right.
Day in and day, if you call me, email me, text me, I'm going to sell you a sea duck hunt, and if we shoot something else, that's just a bonus. But I'm not. I'd rather undersell and over deliver than tell you, man, you're going to see everything, and you see a couple birds. So
sure.
As far as species go.
Okay. All right. Understood. So we'll take a quick minute here. We got show producer Rob here up in the top corner. How you doing, buddy? You might be muted, Rob.
I do see him.
Yeah. Try it again, buddy. No, not yet.
How about now?
There you go.
There we go. So, Jeff, I'm Rob. Thank you again for coming on. I've been the one, talking back and forth with you.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you.
Absolutely. How was, first of all, I'm sure I probably missed a little bit. Sorry I'm coming on late, but how were the past 2 days?
It was very warm. The heat index was like 102, 103, 104. It was a 66 dog, full master, AKC master test. It was a midweek master. And Scoter, I always say Scoter can mark. Some other things she might have a little bit of issue with, and we got zeroed. I almost say zeroed out, but our trainability was a little bit too low. They say to carry us, but she did a really good job on the marks and the blinds, but we were not 100% successful. So
okay, and we will touch on that. That's a nice little chunk of the show towards the end there, without a doubt. I know it's a big part of your background as well.
And real quick.
Yeah, what do you got, Rob?
Real quick before we get started, I was asked to give a little shout out and ask you about the Ontario killers that you guys had just had down there.
I need more information than that.
The crew from up in Ontario, I guess they did some from hunting with you?
Ontario last year?
Well, recently?
It's been quite a few years. I remember a group. I still had the Banks boat. There was a group from Ontario, but that's been like 5 or 6 years ago. I've had some good friends from Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick.
This past spring, Brent Mason.
Yes, Brent. Yes.
Yeah.
Brent, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Yes, we were in the duck water, and it was one of the blowingest days. Yes, damn. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed now, Brent. Thank you.
Oh no, that's no. Man, I was like, oh shit. I hope we got the intel right here.
No. It's correct. It was one of those days. Truly, where like when I wake first off the night before, I know the forecast is what it is, and then I'll wake up in the morning and like I step out here and like the wind's howling, and I'm already looking at the I can go online and see a couple different buoys in the Coast Guard station, and I wasn't 100% sure that we were going to go. And man, they were troopers. We only put 2 lines of decoys out. And thankfully they could shoot very well, and the birds decoyed nice, and they shot them. But it was they had a very windy set of days that I think my mind we were successful. So
yeah,
but
yeah, some of the shittier days makes for the better waterfowl, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Brent Mason, I apologize, man. It was last year, so I'm
that's okay.
Listen, I'm sure you probably do quite a few.
Yeah.
So, really, what I'm the best at is like an anecdotal story. I might not remember names, but if you say, "Hey, man, do you remember the time that like the guy's his choke, he was shooting his gun without a choke, or just any kind of little kind of little oddity." That's what I remember the most. I always tell Karen I'm dyslexic. She doesn't believe that I am, but like names are like sometimes just difficult for me.
Nah, it's all good, boy. Not a problem.
But I do remember Brent and his group, and I still have his Canada DU hat. It's not that far from me, right behind me in the house.
Nice, good deal. All right, nice, Rob. Good little tidbit there. I'm glad we got the info right.
I'm going to run a bunch of the the conversations and comments and everything, and
yep,
I'll hop back at some point. But Jeff, thank you again for coming on with us. It's it's great to get to talk to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you putting me on the spot there. So thank you.
That's what it happens.
All right. So that actually worked out good. That's going to segue in good here. So obviously you mentioned a string of decoys. So there's going to be some terms that we're talking about now, and there will be a section where I'm going to have you break down some of that terminology. But we'll kind of keep it on the skinny. When you're talking about now a string of decoys, obviously, well, let's roll it back. Let's talk about your boat. Your boat is definitely designed specifically for what you're doing. If you don't mind, can you give the breakdown of the boat? If there's any special modifications that you did to it to make the hunts either more successful for the hunters or give yourself more room, anything like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, Steve Hoover's the manufacturer of the boat in New Philadelphia, Ohio, Duckwater Boats. Steve deems it the world's largest duck boat as far as production boats go, because somebody's going to tell me, I've had people show me pictures like, well, here's a 60-foot houseboat. That's the world's largest. But
yeah,
it's Steve's. That is Steve's deal, not mine. I'm just a customer of his, and sure. I'll get to it. It's a 32-foot. The Ocean model. It has a Suzuki 350 hanging off the back. It's very, very large. I have six very large seats. I often have people tell me, man, like I've never duck hunted from a comfortable chair like this before.
Right.
So it's got nice high sides on it. Gunnel. It's very safe, very seaworthy. I actually anchor from the stern every day, so everybody's downwind, and the person in the bow really gets has the prime.
Yeah.
Has the hot seat, if you will.
Sure.
But no, and there are days that the ocean is just too big that we can't get out there. But day in and day out, the Steve's Ocean 32 Duckwater, it's more than capable, and it's going to get. I don't know how long I'm going to guide, but it's going to get me to the end for sure.
Yeah, no, it is an impressive vessel. I mean, without a doubt. Anybody, after this show, check out Jeff's Instagram. It's that is the rig you're looking for. It's safe, sturdy, the high walls, and like you said, those chairs. Let's face it, you want to be comfortable. You're on a boat, you're rocking and rolling as it is. You're out there in shitty weather sometimes. A lot of times, the least you could do is have a little comfy chair to sit in, without a doubt.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know this probably better than anybody. The less you're moving, the less these birds are going to flare on you. You got to be able to sit still.
Yeah. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, it is a guide service. So this is the service I want people to have a great time, and I want them to be comfortable. So
that's true. Now, in your experience, you're in a boat. Obviously, these birds are so used to seeing boats day in, day out, all different sizes. Now, you don't put up any nets or anything. The boat's like a dark gray, blackish color, right? Like you got a paint job like that.
Yeah, it's two-tone, and
Yeah.
honestly, we're maybe up more towards towards the north where you're at, and further, there are rocks, and actually probably our area would resemble Long Island more than, let's say, the excuse my geography, but whatever, Newark on the north of the Long Island Sound up into Connecticut,
Correct.
Rhode Island.
Yep.
It kind of becomes more rocky, right? So
Yes.
once you get there and go north, yeah, man, put the blind up because it blends in like it's a rock. But I mean, here,
Okay.
we're flat. It's just all sand. There's nothing out there. So, honestly, even though it's a 32-foot boat, the lower profile that it is, I think is helps us, and we're able to decoy birds nicely. The other thing too is I think birds are conditioned that open water does not pose that much danger to them.
Okay.
You can tell me the puddle duck. Tell me the puddle duck, and we've seen them decoyed with a scoter in an open boat over the years.
Okay. Fair enough. So
especially on the 107-day season when we got there, and the second week of October, there was all kinds of puddle ducks heading south.
Right. So now when you're stringing out lines, I've definitely seen some photos and videos, I think, where you're actually, maybe it's even 2 or 3 strands of like a full rig setup. Would that be accurate? Maybe about 20 or 30 deeks?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I've kind of went to larger decoys as the boat's gotten bigger. I went to larger decoys. So currently, I'm about 12 to a line because they are so big. Trying to find a bag that accommodates them. Yeah. But currently, I'm 12 to a line. Back in the day, when the decoys were smaller, the boat was smaller, I could run about 20 to a line. But yeah, typically, I'm going to go out there with about 36 to 48. 3 to 4 lines of 12.
Okay. Now they stay in a straight line the whole time. Like, do you try and position them in like that traditional U shape or V shape where they'll cup into the wind to try and rig up, or they kind of just the current takes them where they go?
Yeah, generally I'm going to play the more the wind than the current. Because during the morning, the tide is coming in, it's going out, slack tide. Whatever it may be doing, just depending on the day. But generally, typically, the wind was what I'm playing. I'm going to run the decoys into upwind, and I'm going to be upwind and slightly off of the decoys, and again anchored from the stern. So when the birds come, they're going to either come right to the decoys or they're going to kind of cut across the bow. So I'm definitely playing the wind more than anything.
Sure. Now, do you have a crewmate with you behind the scenes that helps you set up the dekes? Do you let the customers get involved with setting that up, or do you kind of just want them to stay put and you take care of it?
Yeah, really, I'm a one-man show. I kind of, over the years, I like to do the things I like to do, and I kind of jokingly say this: if somebody helps me pick up, if they're with me tomorrow, that's fine, because if it gets messed up, they can cuss themselves tomorrow. But if this is their last day, when the guys show up tomorrow, like, they're not going to know you helped me. So everybody just sit put. Let me put the decoys back in the bags so they come out nice and clean.
That is actually one of my questions. What is, without you don't have to give away a trick of the trade if you don't want. What is the best way you've come across on your vessel to store a large amount of decoys, neatly and efficiently?
I do everything in bags, and currently, Ryan is Easy Deeks. I don't know exactly where he's on Long Island, but he's got a really nice 12-slot zipper bag. If you can find bags that have tops on them that zipper and or kind of keep the decoys neat when you're moving them. I have found over the years that the way that I do it, my birds are all rigged and ready to go on the long line. So I'm not clipping each bird on the long line. Everything is, the bag has the front anchor line, has all the birds, and has the back anchor line all together. Okay. And I do think the least amount that you move those bags around, the better it is going to be for tomorrow morning. So, basically all my decoys are bagged. I have plenty of room. I have plenty of room in the boat. There's under the shelf storage, above the shelf or on the shelf storage, I should say. But over the years, I just really have never, had my decoys that way. Everything's always been bagged.
Yeah, I will attest to that. Decoys. The snow's blowing, the wind's blowing, the rain's blowing, whatever it is. At the end of the morning, you sometimes just want to clean up and just get the heck home. And you kind of kick yourself when you get back to the dock or at home. You're like, oh my goodness, look at this mess. Without a doubt, that could add to an easy hour to your cleanup. So you don't do you have a layout boat that you use, or everybody stays in your primary boat?
Currently, yeah, everybody's in the big boat with me. I'm not a
Okay.
control freak. I'm not, but at the same time, like I just think if, especially on the ocean, there's all kinds of birds flying, and if people haven't seen different species of birds, I'm sure there'd be a lot of stuff. I would bet you this: a loon in winter plumage, I bet you would get shot quite often, and somebody would say, "Hey, I thought it was an eider," and it's not.
Right.
It's a loon. But no, I've had many different layout boats over the years. But I just really, like I said, I'm not a control freak, but it's just better for me to sit there and, a great example is we can't shoot harlequin on the East Coast. Last year we had a nice Drake harlequin decoy, and it's a duck, right? So somebody's going to stand up because it's a duck and they're going to shoot it. And I'm like, no, we can't shoot that, kind of thing. But if that did it to a layout boat, I'm sure that duck would have got shot. And again, not like in malice that, hey, that's a harlequin. I know I can't shoot it, but I'm going to shoot it anyway. They did. They just didn't know. And here's a duck, and we're duck hunting, and we're going to shoot that duck.
Right, this little thing coming in the size of a football, a million miles an hour. It's I will say, like, if you're able to actually, like, let's take a bufflehead for example. If you got guys that are dropping buffleheads and they're on point and they're shooting them on the move, that's a pretty good shot. These things, they come in low, they come in fast, and unless they're fully cupped up or rigging, you got to be on your game. Number one, to see them. If you don't see them coming in, you ain't going to get them. And then number two, to actually put that bead and give them enough lead, that's a good shot. I would like to touch on, I'm sure you've seen a wide variety of experience in shots and shooters. What do you require every hunter that you bring out as a client? What type of like prerequisites do you mandate that they have? Like, do they have to have a certain amount of experience on the water or duck hunting? Is there anything like that?
Honestly, no. And I've been taken to task over the years about this. Mm-hmm. There's a good Long Island story that I could tell, but I won't.
Okay.
There was a from the South Shore. There's a fellow that used to take me to task quite a bit about, taking people with guns that I don't know who they are, on and on and on. Mm-hmm. And probably if I was going to get shot personally, he probably would have been the person that I would have got shot.
Oh.
But anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
I really don't have any. My prerequisite is that you're legal and you're going to be safe. So legally is make sure you have all the licenses, your stamps, everything you need.
Sure.
And just be smart. Like we are in a moving boat. It's rocking and rolling. Even though it's large and it is very stable, the thing still moves. So just be smart. Don't no bird obviously is worth injuring anybody.
No.
Just be smart about what you're doing. But I do not have prerequisites as far as that goes. And again, there have been a few that have taken me to task over 26 years of like why or how do I do this? But anyway. Well,
I didn't mean to stir the pot, but hey, if I'm stirring the pot, I'm doing a good job as a host. It's because it's a reality. You're taking essentially strangers out on a vessel, 100%. With loaded firearms, and that's people question why DEC, if DEC approaches duck hunters, why they take the approach they do. They're approaching armed men and women. There's a reason they come in the way they do. But again, to your point, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have all your tags, you have all your permits, you got your stamps, you got your plug in the gun, whatever it is, you're not doing anything wrong. The DEC is to protect the hunters. So if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about.
100%. Again, like I probably could. I won't go into that story anymore. But it's not funny because if the gun went off, I would have got shot. I didn't, but I guess the irony is that he's probably the one that took me to task over the years about that situation. And again, ironically enough, if I got shot, it would have been from him. But kind of jokingly, not to be lighthearted about it, but jokingly, one of my taglines is shoot what you can afford. So if you want to get on my boat, you don't have a hunting license, I'm not responsible for it. It's going to be you because you're the hunter and you're the one that does not have the license. So if you want to shoot a loon and you can afford it, shoot a loon. It's your call, but shoot what you can afford.
Yeah, and that takes just years and years of experience, like to the point where you're at right now, to be able to identify like the shape of the bird, let's say even the wing speed, how the wings are actually flapping. What do you use now to identify birds like on the cusp like that? Or you could just tell, you could almost just see it.
Well, I mean, so somebody has not been out with me. Because everybody's like, what's that? Mm-hmm. At a distance, yes, duck's wings are moving, but at a distance, you really don't see the wing beat. So anything that you can see the wings moving, or has I call it a lopey wing beat, it's not a duck. The ducks, their wings obviously are moving, but like it's a dot at a distance. It's just a dot that's moving. So and then once they get closer, it's just kind of more the identifying factors of what that species is. We see it, believe it or not, we see a lot of pintail out in the ocean, and I'll say, man, that's pintail, and they're like, what do you seriously? Yeah, look at it. And it's just after you see a few of them, obviously, it's, you kind of, at least in my mind, I remember what they look like, and it's just I guess ultimately I'm old. So I've seen a lot of ducks and
well, the experience is just time in the boat and just staring at them and seeing them come in at all different angles, without a doubt.
A couple of years back, I already said about the Harlequin. It was probably a good 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even longer. But it was kind of a gray day, and it's a duck. Here comes this duck around the bow, and it's coming to the decoys, and 2 guys get up in the bow, get ready to shoot. I'm right with them, like, yeah, it's a duck, and I could not really see the colors on it. And right at the end, I saw some white on its face, and I'm like, no. It was a Drake Harlequin. And again, like if that bird got shot, I would call it that they weren't being malicious. Like they knew that it's a Harlequin. Again, I want to shoot this thing. It's a duck flying, but it looked like, honestly, Harlequin kind of fly like old squall, if you will, and their attitude of head, body, and wings. And again, it was a duck, and it decoyed very nice, and it almost got shot, but it was a Drake Harlequin. So
okay. Do you prefer your customers to wait to actually have rigged up ducks, or are you okay with shooting them on the move?
No, you can't shoot them on the move. No.
Okay.
We get we cannot cripples. We can shoot under power, but we can't ride around and shoot ducks.
No. I meant while they're still flying, like coming in. Do you want your clients to really wait till they're kind of feet down, cupped up, or are you okay with the bird shooting while they're flying?
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah. No driving. You're not under motion. Yeah.
No. My line is legally, safely, legally. So if there's a group of old squall that are 80 yards behind the boat and they're old squall and you want to try to shoot them, it's an old squall and you can shoot them, have at it. I mean, it's like some people need them 10 feet down in decoys. Other people, if they're 100 yards, they're going to try them. So again, it's somebody's paying me to take them, and however they like to shoot ducks, as long as it's safe and as long as it's legal, have at it.
All right. Well, what are some of those requirements for where you're hunting? Are you guys required to have a plug in your gun to limit to 3 shots?
Yes.
Okay.
Any gun can't have more than capacity to hold 3 shells. Obviously you got to shoot non-toxic shot.
Yep. It's not steel or tungsten. Is tungsten covered?
Yeah, basically anything but lead. You can't shoot lead.
Okay.
And specifically for me in Maryland, you must be at least 800 yards from any land to be in the quote sea duck zone.
Wow. Okay.
So that's another factor. But
okay.
But yeah, just have a lot of guys. You can bring your federal stamp with you. You buy the Maryland license. You buy the Maryland state duck stamp, and as long as you have your federal stamp from home, you're good to go.
Okay. What caliber do you see most guys bringing? A 12 gauge or a 10 gauge?
Yeah, I think 12 is it. I've been seeing more and more 20s, but over the years definitely I've seen a few 10s also, but most commonly is going to be a 12 gauge.
Yeah, I feel like the 10 gauge, man, that's just more for like if you really want to start targeting some geese and you're shooting with a 00 or 2 shot. And you could tell the difference. Like if you're on the water, you could tell when a guy's shooting a 10 gauge. It sounds like a bazooka going off.
Yeah.
But their shells are expensive. Everything's more expensive.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of guys going to 20 gauge. You said though. That's a little interesting.
Yeah, I've been seeing more and more 20 gauges show up. Yep.
Okay. Mostly semi-automatic. You see, like I use an 870. That's my all-purpose gun. I just changed the choke out, and guys are laughing at me. Why don't you get a semi? I'm like, I like this gun. I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I would tell you the majority of the guns are semi-autos also. Yeah. I think one thing with the 20 gauge, just kind of, ballistically, the availability of all the different loads for a 20 gauge shell. There's a lot of opportunity out there. For people to shoot many different shells, and you do have whatever you like to shoot. Whatever you like to shoot in a 12 gauge, you can find it comparable in a 20 gauge.
That's true. And then I'm assuming with that, guys, they have some type of choke in, whether like a Carlson's or something like that.
Yeah,
all
chokes
different
too,
types.
man. Like it's like it varies. I see a little bit of everything. Your factory chokes to Rob Robertson guns to name from the kicks to name me the choke. I see him.
Yeah. No, and like you said, at that point, that's just the tool. It's the man or the woman behind behind that tool.
So,
and yeah. How do you figure out, like you said, who gets that hot seat up at the bow? Is that up to your guests, how they rotate it?
Well, I want to rewind real quick. So I get
Yeah.
asked about shells all the time, right?
Sure.
This is my line. You could be shooting a 10-cent shell or a $10 shell. If you're 2 feet behind the bird, it doesn't matter what you're shooting. Doesn't matter what the gauge is, whether it's the most expensive shell or the cheapest shell. You're 2 feet behind them. That's not going to help you improve your shot. So you gotta get out in front of the birds and you gotta lead them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To answer your question, usually, I would say usually it's the person that books the hunt is usually the one that grabs the bow.
Okay.
I do often say, hey, if everybody wants to rotate through, especially if I generally typically have 4 guys. If I would have 6, I do kind of recommend, hey, like, so everybody has the same experience. Like, why don't we rotate through? Because not that the person is sitting, number 6 that's sitting back by me, not that he won't shoot birds, but at the same time, he's not in the hot seat as the bow goes. I will say quite often the person that sits back by me, birds come in, all the guns go off, and he stands up and goes boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And he kills birds, after everybody's already shot. So it just depends on the shooter.
Yeah, without a doubt. So this leads me into the next topic. We're going to segue a little bit. We're going to segue into the dog aspect of your career. Do you bring any of your dogs out onto the ocean with you for retrievals, or do you use the boat for retrieval?
Current day I use the boat, but back in the day I was never without a dog.
Okay.
And it would have been December of 2013, the 3rd week of December. The duck boat at the time was 25 feet long, and the tiger shark was half the length of the boat. And that was the last day that I ever took. There was no contact was ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, the shark was very close to us, and it was more of like a good friend of ours. More of we're in the outdoor studio here. More of not like not that I wasn't worried about the dog, but I'm like, this shark's so big. Like, are we safe? Like, are we okay?
Yeah.
But
I mean, with the new boat, you got 2 now. It'd be a challenge. Like actually getting the dog in and out. You would have to modify unless you have something at the stern, like an easy access.
Steve, he has a nice. I did get a ladder with it, so he's got a nice ladder on the back. It's a 2-step ladder, so no, it's very easy for it to get up on the stern and hang out in the back there. So there's no issues with that. But it's just really, especially in the ocean, it's just more of my concern with a shark. If you want to look, anybody wants to look back, it was 2 seasons ago in Nova Scotia. I can't remember what month it was. Honestly, I had a lot of people send me the article. I've never read it because I really don't want to read about a shark eating a dog. No. But basically, it was a Chesapeake Bay Retriever that was in Nova Scotia. They were shooting sea ducks, and a great white shark killed this dog. And probably maybe the most horrific thing was, like, the dog wasn't dead.
That's all right. That's all right.
The dog was not dead when it came back to him. So, like, the dog, when it got back to the boat, it was still alive, but it didn't survive. Yeah. So that's the last time, honestly, that I've taken a dog sea duck hunting.
Yeah. I'm sure if you do a little bit of research, even guys just using them on land or out of a blind, I don't know how it happens, but I'm sure it happens, accidentally getting shot. I mean, I'm sure those stories are out there. It's just gut wrenching. I mean, they're a part of your family. You spend so much time together. And then, like you said, nothing, no duck, no anything is worth that. And it's, God forbid, I can't even fathom what that would be like. It's losing a family member.
Yeah. Well, thoughtfulness of a group way back in the day. My dog Cooch, she hasn't been here, and I guess we put her down probably in 2013. But anyway, through the mid 2000s, had a group, and she'd go out there, black lab female. She was out there retrieving. And as long as they're not shooting in the direction of dogs, I'd still, as long as they weren't close to the dog, I'd let them shoot. Mm-hmm. They were super nervous. So they actually bought, the first night, they went and bought an orange collar to put an orange collar. So I put an orange collar on Cooch.
Yeah.
So they would be able to see her, wherever she was. And I think it was very nice of them. But
absolutely, that's a great gesture.
Yeah, they were ultra concerned about her being in the water where she was, and they still want to shoot ducks, but they didn't want to endanger the dog. So I can remember that back in the day where, they the first night they went and bought an orange collar and say, here, please put this on her so we can see her.
Hey, so, I'm all for that. That's a great gesture, and I'm all for that. Why not? A simple little improvement.
100%.
So I think I'm going to wrap up little bit of the hunting phase with just some simple terms. Like I said in the beginning, maybe somebody that's listening tonight or in the future, no waterfowl experience at all. And there's certain terms that they're going to hear a lot. And if you could just give the simple explanation on what you would say, the term deek, short for decoy, right? So if you were to say somebody's a sky buster or they're sky busting, what is that?
Maybe like I described earlier, if the old squall are flying 80 yards behind us and they're just keep going, not that they're necessarily shooting up in the sky, but they're kind of shooting at birds that are not decoying and are I use the word rangy, definitely on the rangy side of things. So,
gotcha.
But to me, sky buster is the birds are super high in the sky, whether they're coming back or not, they're gonna take a poke at them and see if they can knock one down.
Gotcha. Gang rig.
Gang rig, I would call that more or less like my long line rig, where there's many, however they're attached, it's many decoys attached to at least one anchor, if not double anchor, to keep them locked in place.
Another version of a gang rig might be a Texas rig, if I'm correct. Was that for more like still water where you got to add some motion to them, like a jerk line? Yeah,
to me, Texas rigs are more of shallow water rigs that you literally, the way that they're configured with an egg sinker on the line that you can just throw the decoys at. They're on very short lines, generally like a nylon coated cable that you can just throw them out, and they just fix themselves because they're on short lines and they go down. So I wouldn't really consider a Texas rig to be a gang rig.
Okay, thank you. I misspoke there.
No, it's all right.
Bluebird Day.
Man, we had a Bluebird Day this afternoon, a midday on coming home, where it's just like crystal clear blue sky. And especially during duck season, I'm going to say there's like zero humidity, so it feels really good to be out there. Yeah. But man, birds are just sitting and loafing, and not much is flying.
Yep. Working the decoys.
Birds are working the decoys. In my case, when I see some scoter out at a distance, I'm going to stand up and wave a flag, wave as much as I can, and get their attention. And man, as soon as they turn, they're going to come to the decoys. I'm just saying, let them get here, let them get here, let them get here. And then either they're going to land or they're going to turn, and that's the time to take them. So working the decoys is letting the birds have the opportunity to get over your decoy spread.
I'm working some magic here. I got two more, and they're all going in order.
All right.
Locked up, cupped up, feet down.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Here they come, and you can't scare them out of the decoys because they are committed to land into your decoy spread.
And in the famous words of yourself, that should equal a train wreck.
A train wreck, man. When guys are, in my case, the sea ducks they always come in low. It's 6 or 7. I've got 3 or 4 shooters. Boom, 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 boom. And they all hit the water. That's what we're going to say. Train wreck, train wreck, train wreck. I got to get Scoter up here. Go.
You got it.
She moved. There you go. She moved from that chair to this chair. So.
Well, that is the next segment. Obviously, Rob talked on it a little bit. You the past few days, you've been heavily involved with some competitions involving the dogs. Let's share some info on that. What exactly was that all about?
We enjoy running AKC hunt tests and field trials. Day in and day out, actually, we train for really all age stakes, which would be field trials. Marking, blinds are blinds. The hunt tests add a little bit of, how should I say it? Mechanics. I won't say trickery. Mechanics of duck calling. A walk up to how you approach the line. Both field trials, hunt tests have honors, and generally, typically, the hunt test marks are going to be very, much closer than what field trial marks could be. But yeah, Scoter sitting beside me here. She's a little over 2 years old. She's a young master hunter. We need one more pass to get her qualified to the Master National in Giddings, Texas in October. Okay. But yeah, we enjoy Karen and I with all the dogs. We not all dogs get trained, but we have 6 dogs. 5 are labs. So we do train the labs. And it's like back in the day, I got my first black lab in 2001. She was a very young AKC master hunter. She was, when I say young, about 26 months old. She was a master hunter. I did in field trials. I got at 4 years old. I got her qualified all age designation, and she was a really nice dog. She was my gun dog. she was with me every day. I had a second female, Diamond. They were actually cousins because their fathers were litter mates. But she was a very nice dog too. But we, I've enjoyed dog training, again, since about 2001. Took a little hiatus maybe in 2007 and 8 to about 2017. A good 10 years in there. Got involved with a DVD series back in the day when they were popular. We had a TV show for a little while. Nice. And most recently, just kind of wanted to really get back into dogs, and that's what we've done. So
okay, has the Labs always been your go-to breed? Have you ever tried working with other breeds?
No, Labs is what we've had. I did have a chocolate female at the beginning, but black is the dominant gene, so I've had blacks ever since.
Okay,
and I probably am a little partial to females over males, but yeah, we love black Labs.
Okay. So back when you were actually using the dogs with you out on the hunts, can you recall one of the most impressive acts you've seen one of your dogs do on a retrieval, or just in general while you're out on a hunt?
I think day in and day out, especially the dog Coot. And I actually found some old video I put up on Instagram recently, but on the Banks boat, she would actually the old TDB I had, she would kind of run the gunnels. Like she'd be sitting in the back and I'd send her. Actually, it would be considered cheating where she just didn't jump in the water. Right. She would run down the gunnel, get to the end of the boat, and then jump in. So I think a lot of people, when they talk, if I say Coot or I put a picture up or put a post up, they hunted with me and they're like, oh man, I have fond memories of her. I have fond memories of her too.
Nice.
But I would think day in and day out, that was pretty impressive. It didn't matter how rough the water was. She was up for the task. But probably like a boastful ego kind of moment, shooting Brant in very shallow water. And I would say, I know everybody exaggerates. I listened to a podcast the other day and somebody was talking about the 400-yard blind retrieve. But I'm telling you, man, the Brant that sailed out there across the mud flat that there was a little bit of water. We couldn't boat across it. And I stood up literally on the bow as high as I could it was the old TDB 17, Kastner, and that Brant was out there. And I was like, wow, that was like she trusted me, and she had plenty of motor to go, and she went out there and got that Brant. So that was awesome. That was a memory. A good friend of mine, Brian Rhodes, one of the first eider that I shot in Rhode Island. Scoter had retrieved a limited eider. We got back to the boat ramp, and she's running around the boat ramp throw me. She wanted to still retrieve. He actually got a puppy from me out of her first litter. But he's like, any dog that just retrieved a limit of sea ducks and comes back to the ramp and still throw me something so I can go run around. He's like, that's impressive. So it just depends, I guess, what your definition of impressive is.
Sure, it's the amount of time. It's just that's what the people don't see. The amount of time, the dedication, the hours, working the buoys, working the commands, and it's a true testament to not only the dog and the animal, but the owner and the trainer. I've been fortunate enough to hunt with guys who have worked in the dogs, and you see them work, and not necessarily at the level that you're at, but even just to see them do the basics. And it's to your point, these dogs, it's in their DNA. Their tail is wagging, they hear that safety go off the gun, and they just know it's game time. They're getting ready to go, and they love it. And no matter, like you said, no matter how cold that water is, how rough it is, they're ready. It's amazing.
Karen, usually when we train, she's always videoing, the dogs, what we're doing. And I guess I just don't look back to see this. And we're running a big water blind. It was about 340 yards, long entry to get in the water. And I'm lining her up, and Scoter's tail, she's sitting there beside, I don't really see her tail. And she's sitting on the ground, and her tail's just going to town. I told Karen, I was like, I didn't know she does that. And Karen's like, oh yeah, her tail's always, when you set her down, her tail's always moving, but I'm really paying attention to her head, not really her rear end. But yeah, they do love to do it, and I try not to, our goal is to not put the least amount of pressure that we can to make them, become trained dogs to do what we want them to do. So
have you had some dogs that you just got the feeling maybe this just isn't for them? Does that happen occasionally?
There was probably the third dog I had, a little black female. Her name was Poacher. And I can remember a day that if we could shoot 24 ducks at about duck 18, she had enough. And we were on Chesapeake Bay, and again, a very nice animal, very well bred. But she became my mom's dog because I was like, she didn't, she would retrieve, but at the same time, she quit on me. So I was like, okay, that's fine. We're not getting rid of you. But like, she became my mom's dog.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We got 2 topics left. One of them I find very interesting, and I love these aspects. Anytime I catch one of your lives and you're out in your shop and you're carving away on your decoys, what primarily are those decoys? Is that sea duck decoys? Is that scoters? Give a little background on that in case anybody hasn't seen you out there doing your decoy work.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, really, if it's sea ducks, I'm carving them basically for myself, for the rig for the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I carve a little bit of everything. We just did a rig of Harlequin that basically, I think there was 8 of them. They got sold as singles. I did my second run ever of King Eiders. That again, it was somebody wanted a King Eider. I wasn't making them for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that I really enjoy making green wing teal.
Okay.
A bunch of nice rig of green wing teal went to North Carolina last year, South Carolina. Some went to Texas. Currently, right now, I'm almost done painting some widgeon. I think my widgeon looked pretty good. I enjoy carving and painting widgeon. So those are all going to homes. Those aren't for me.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff I carve I'm going to use, but generally, typically, stuff I'm carving is somebody's asked for that, and I'll always make extras. But somebody was interested in a bird, so that's why I made it. I hate taking deposits on decoys because that really puts the pressure on me to get them done.
Right.
So
right.
I'm better not to take a deposit from you to get them done versus if I get a deposit from you. That's how those Harlequins started. I felt horrible. I looked it up when they got done 2 weeks ago on Venmo. It was February of 2022 is when he sent me the deposit. But in my defense, I know twice I offered to give him his deposit back. He's like, no. If you're going to make them, I want one. But if you're going to make it, don't worry, hold on to it. And so anyway, it did work out. But I got to say, I did feel bad. It did take me that long to get it made. But in my defense too, we this probably you can't see a lot of it, but we built this barn dominium, moving in between. So I over those years, from we bought the property in 21. So there was some time in there where my excuse is not to say I was busy, but we were definitely busy trying to get our building done here too. So
right. So that's interesting. I actually thought all those deeks that you were carving, you actually use out in the field. Is there a brand that you work with that you trust for your decoys when you're out on the hunt?
No. So, but what I just said though too, like any sea duck that I make, especially scoter that I'm making, I am gonna.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
but I mean, and I do, some people do want scoter too, so those are for sale.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I am. If you see a big bunch of surf scoter or common scoter get made, I am going to gun over those.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
What primarily, if you don't want to say, it's okay. Are they wood based? Are they composite based? Foam based?
They're a little bit of everything, honestly. I like to do hollow northern white cedar birds. Okay. I like to do hollow tan high density cork bodies. They'll have hollow them out, put a bottom board on them, have a cedar head, and then the ones that I call foam zillas. They are 9-inch by 16-inch lobster floats that I cut those in half.
Oh, wow.
The rest of it's a cedar silhouette head with a cedar bottom. So it's a little bit of it. Just depends on what style I'm making, but generally cedar's always involved. Sometimes cork's involved, and sometimes the foam floats are involved.
Do you give your clients a little slap on the wrist if they shoot your deeks?
Man, when they get shot, it makes them worth even more.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. Molly's Place. Let's definitely spend a couple minutes on Molly's Place, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, Molly's Place Sporting Goods has been in business since 2010 in Kennedyville, Maryland. As I do a lot of radio spots for me, go fuel your adventure at Molly's in Kennedyville, Maryland. So I'm very happy for them. Big news for them. They are opening their second location in Easton, Maryland. And those who are not maybe not knowledgeable exactly where Easton is, it is the home of the Easton Waterfowl Festival, a World Goose Calling Championship that takes place in November. So they're going to be right there in the heart of it in Easton. So that's going to be another location. Thankfully to me, Easton's much closer than Kennedyville, so I'm going to enjoy them being closer. But it's a great family business. 2 brothers that work their rear ends off, and they have the selection, they have the quantity. Back a couple years ago when people are selling ammo, by the box. the tagline for Molly's by the box or by the case with no limits. They always have the selection and the volume to sell you. So, it's a very good company, very good family, and I'm very, very honored to be a part of their family, the Molly's family.
So what exactly is your connection with them and with that outfitter and that store?
So they locally here, Baltimore, the Fan 107, the Fan, and in Delaware and Maryland, they do a lot of radio spots. So I do a lot of the radio commercials.
Oh, okay, cool.
I helped them back in the day with social media, and just kind of being a representative of them. I think Chicky, the one brother, I think he'd kind of describe me as their Molly's Bruce Buffer. So if you follow UFC, I kind of like to, put a microphone in front of my face, and I'll I won't say I'll get wild and crazy, but I definitely can crank it up. So nice. Fuel your adventure, that kind of thing. So.
Hey, that's perfect, man.
Yeah,
that's it. So 5-year goal for yourself, Pitboss Waterfowl, whatever you want to lump that into. What's in the future for you?
Man, I'm old these days. I tell people I don't want to be, I don't know that I'll be here next month, but I definitely want to be here next month. So, sure. Man, like 5 years from now, I hope I'm still here. I really, if I am still here, I'm going to be guiding, and we just I don't want to say too much personal, but we visited my father today in a home, and he's 89, and man, and Karen's mother, she's about that same age. She used to always, Karen's from Australia, so we'd kind of keep up their mom, and kids, you call us kids, right? 50 years old. Kids, do what you want to do today. Don't wait for tomorrow. So
I like that.
You got, and I always say this for Karen, we always said, if you say one day you want to do this or one day you want to do that, if you don't do it, one day doesn't get here. So man, if there's something you want to do it today, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. So what am I going to do in 5 years? I hope that Pitboss World headquarters here is a little more completed. I'm 5 years old, wiser, possibly. Yep. But just trying to enjoy our life. Karen's my best friend. Nice. We have a happy life together, and I hope that I hope the dogs are doing well, and maybe there's another puppy in our life, in 5 years.
Okay.
We don't know, but yeah, man, I like to joke around and say, hey, I'm just old these days, but truly each day we get older, and I'm not 30 years old anymore, right? So I need to do today what I want to do. So we still have a lot to do. We still have a lot that we want to do. So we need to, we need to step up and do it.
I like that. I definitely, like you said, why wait? Why wait?
Yeah. If you wait,
we actually did have one last question come in from, it's actually from my dad. He's watching in on Instagram there. I guess he wants to know if you had to pick one hunting scenario, like weather-wise, just if you had to break it down temperature-wise, whether it was raining or snowing, and you're going out for sea ducks, what would be your ideal morning? You're like, yeah, we're going to smack them.
So where I'm at, a northwest 10 to 15, maybe, pushing 20, but definitely 10 to 15 knots. As long as I've done it, I still don't know how scoters see. Because some days when it is gray as can be, I think, I can see we get off the decoys, I can see those decoys forever. But I almost think sometimes the sun makes it better. But regardless, if I could dial it up, I'd be northwest 10, 12, 15 knots out of the northwest. And I feel most confident when I have that wind.
Okay. Very cool. I think we would take the last little segment here, and any brands that you do work with, obviously all your social media, take the time and plug all that info.
Wow, now you're going to put me on the spot. So definitely, I'm a big fan of Molly's Place Sporting Goods, mymollys.com, MYMOLLYS.com. I say that in a radio commercial, so I kind of have that,
there you go.
Have that memorized. But no, I mean, we have a little podcast ourselves. So Molly's is the title sponsor. Many good friends. I hate to say them in any kind of order because I don't want to say one's better than the other, but I'll have to say Steve Hoover, Duckwater Boats, duckwaterboats.com. We're in Steve's world's largest duck boat every day. Duckblindbistro.com. It's the ultimate outdoor oven. Turtle Box, Live Loud. I like to say Turtle Box should be the ultimate Bluetooth speaker. D-Max brakes, stainless steel brakes. I've had them on my duck boat trailer since 2010, and literally stainless steel caliper brakes that I've never had any issue with. Gunner kennels, we use Gunner kennels daily in the T350 van. There's 6 of them, and we use those things daily. Locally,
is that the one when you had the accident? Is that the kennel that you were using? Was that? Did I see that on your?
No, don't jinx me now. Come on.
No. I thought I forget what I thought it was your page. I was, holy crap! And somebody got into a truck accident. They were talking about the kennel. Like, this is the main reason why this dog is still alive right now.
Yeah, no, Gunner has lots of testimonials about that.
Yeah,
man's best kennel, but no, we have not been.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to knock on wood.
Yes, no. Sorry, I thought it was you though. I was like, man, that's God bless that company. They made a good product without a doubt.
No. I guess the Hunt Proof app, we use that quite a bit with the dog training. I don't use this. I should use it more for duck hunting, which I don't. But definitely, all the dog setups we use is huntproof.app. We use them quite a bit too. So I have a lot of good Benelli are a good friend of ours. Federal ammunitions and heavy shot, they're good friends of ours.
Nice.
Sika and Kuyu, I use, have many good friends out there. So I don't want to forget anybody, but yeah, just not to be fake or false, but man, anybody's a friend of mine, I'll be a friend of theirs. So
that's well said. So where can they follow along directly with yourself on Instagram and YouTube, whatever you have?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to follow along with Instagram or Facebook at Pitboss, Pitboss Waterfowl. Not that the waterfowlers don't know it, but anybody doesn't duck hunt, I always say FOWL. I say my email address quite a bit, and if I don't say FOWL, people spell it FOUL, and they're like,
right.
So kind of the joke there. But now I'm pretty easy to find if you Google Pitboss Waterfowl, Google Jeff Coates. I think I'm pretty easy to be found. But we're on YouTube, a little YouTube channel. I'm probably more active on Instagram than anything else. But to my personal account as well as Pitboss on Facebook, and then the YouTube channel. So
yeah, and you're interactive as well. Like we were talking a little bit before the show. It's nice when a page interacts and within a timely manner, and you're well within those means. So that's any questions. I'm sure you'd be more than helping to ask. If anybody's got questions for you, shoot them over to Jeff. If you guys want to reach out to us, whatever you want to do. So. Jeff, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for carving out pretty much an hour on a Friday night to hang out.
100%, man. Like I said, I'm happy to be here. Appreciate you, having the interest in me coming on your show, and
absolutely.
I was glad we got home in time so I could do this.
Yeah, no, we're big promoters of people that do things the right way in the outdoors, that promote the outdoors the right way. That was the whole premise when we started the show. We didn't want to just do hunting base. Even though but it's all about just keeping the outdoors alive for that next generation. And you're a great advocate for that. And thank you for that. It's important.
Well, you're very kind, and thank you very much.
All right. So for everybody that tuned in on Instagram and YouTube, thank you very much. This has been another great episode. Don't forget, you can check us out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. That's where you can find all the episodes live. But if you don't happen to catch it live, you can check out the full library. All the episodes are there as soon as we end. And share it along with your friends. Anybody you think that's interested. Again, just anybody that enjoys the outdoors, this is what that show is about. So, Jeff, after we end this, just hang tight. We'll wrap up post-show. And everybody else, have a good night.